So we are in chapter 10, or paper 10 of URANTIA book, and we are in number 3, or 10.3.1, and it's called the Three Persons of Deity. Who would like to begin?
Yeah, I'll say. I don't know how long my voice will last.
You're sounding good, darling. Alice has told me that she hasn't been that well.
I've been quite unwell.
You
I had
sound,
quite a fever.
you
Had
sound,
quite a fever last night, but it broke sometime in the night.
yeah,
I'm feeling very weak though, and I'm fasting today, so
good for you.
we'll just see
You
how I
sound
go.
good, darling.
Anyway,
You don't sound, you actually sound normal. If you
Yeah,
didn't
you
good.
tell
said,
me you were sick, I wouldn't have known.
yeah, me either. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, the three persons of deity.
Yeah, Alison, you actually
Notwithstanding,
sound normal for a change.
I sound what?
Sound normal for a change.
Normal for change.
Yeah, it's a joke.
This is what happens to Kevin when he's not in bed.
Yeah.
We love you, brother.
He's still reclining though. He's got his picture of the reclining Buddha, so even when he's not in bed, he's still lying down.
All right, let's hit it.
The three persons of deity. Notwithstanding, there is only one deity. There are three positive and divine personalizations of deity. Regarding the endowment of man with the divine adjusters, the Father said, "Let us make mortal man in our own image." See, I don't think my voice.
Now you broke. Can you say that again?
Yeah. Oh, no, I think you froze there a bit.
You
I
froze
think
for,
someone else. Uh, I think someone else has to read. My voice won't last.
all right, darling. Notwithstanding that there is only one deity, there are three positive and divine personalizations of deity regarding the endowment of man with the divine adjusters. The Father said, "Let us make mortal man in our own image." Repeatedly throughout the Urantia writings, there occurred this reference to the acts of doings of plural deity, clearly showing a recognition of the existence and working of the three sources and centers. And, and I love that I found the, the mechanism with which these uh, thought adjusters are giving us signals. And let me just read that because I found it fascinating. It says
Oh,
here, let me just read something from somewhere else, just so I hit
Sure.
something. Per, um, so it goes somewhere like pursuit of knowledge constitutes science, the search for wisdom is philosophy, the love of God is religion, the hunger for truth is a revelation. But it is the indwelling thought adjuster that attaches the feeling of reality to man's spiritual insight into the cosmos.
mm.
Oh,
Yes,
that can't be ignored.
that is that for me. This is like a revelation. It's like, aha, the thought adjuster, but it is an indwelling a thought adjuster that attaches the feeling of reality. So it gives us the experience. When we have this experience, we'll have a new line of thought kick in. Yeah,
It was
another way of thinking altogether.
it was interesting in that talk about the Lucifer rebellion. They said Lucifer didn't have a thought adjuster. I thought that was interesting.
Oh, wow, I missed that bit.
Yeah,
Was
they're saying he
Lucifer
didn't
was
have.
an angel, though, wasn't he? Was Lucifer an angel, or what was he?
I
Well,
don't know.
Because, like in
subject.
biblical terms, he was
First
an
of all,
angel.
there's two papers on just Lucifer and the
Yeah.
rebellion, and it describes who is, what is. I can't tell you just offhand right now.
Yeah, we'll
But
get
they
to
were
that.
just saying, and they're just saying in here that the thought adjusters,
Mhm.
like that, let us make mortal man in our own image, regarding the endowment of man with the divine adjusters. So man got the divine adjusters.
Mhm.
Not everyone
Mm,
got the divine adjusters
Mm,
yeah,
right. Interesting. That's an
because we're so backward. We needed that.
well, you know how what Righteous Soul says about that. It says, it's an entity within human being, highly influenced by this Lucifer, and it's that same thing. Is the part of the mind that's so detached from feeling and from
mm.
sensibility that it's very clever, but not very loving.
Mm.
This is really interesting because recently I heard someone say on YouTube that people that are described as narcissists actually aren't really human. And I'm wondering if those people maybe don't have the thought adjuster. You know, those people that are really so detached and
I
caught up
don't.
in their feelings.
Everyone has a thought adjuster, I think.
I don't think that's accurate.
Well,
Mm,
I don't know.
Having
I'm
none.
saying that's just something I heard, and I'm
Uh,
wondering about
mhm,
if they're
yeah.
not human, they might not have a thought adjuster. You know what I mean?
mm.
They just appear human.
True. True. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many,
Psychopaths might be a different thing. Not be
but if
human,
there's
but who knows?
so many inhabited planets.
Well, my
I
take
mean,
on, sorry, sweetheart. Sorry.
sorry, what was your take, Cole? I'm just saying, there's so many inhabited planet with different types of beings
Mhm,
that why would that be surprising? Like there might be lots of beings here that look human that aren't.
mhm.
I don't
Well,
know.
with the narcissism, I was closely associated with some people who were like obsessed by this whole subject, and
Yeah.
so that made me to have a good look, and something very interesting happened because when
Right.
they talked about it, I go like, oh, there is narcissist here, or there is narcissist there, but my technology is that like, well, if I've got this narcissist around me, why are they here? who
Yes.
who is attracting this level of perception anyway? So I begin to look within of all my narcissistic qualities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's a
We have
terrain. It's
And
a
we have
with the Sedona approach, I pretty much allow myself to be as narcissistic as I can allow it. It
yes.
was so revealing because when I fully saw all the narcissistic qualities, they begin to vanish. And
Mm.
and I have to say, in my recent, maybe even years, I don't see narcissists anywhere. When people talk about narcissists, I always say, like, well, have a look why they're there. But once you
Yeah.
recognize whatever's narcissistic in your own sphere, in a
Mm.
sphere, you no longer begin to draw to yourself that reality.
Mm.
So,
But
when you
I
say
mean,
in your own
I
sphere,
know,
like within yourself,
I
within your own.
realize there's that way of looking at the world, but is the Urantia look at the world like say that that's how, does
well,
it say the same thing? Because that's one way of looking at things, but it might not be the whole way.
URANTIA book is for me very much what it is about.
Yes.
Whereas Course in Miracles and the other two modalities, they're actually helping you with your own psychology. So they are more
Mm.
like how to, yeah,
Mm.
But Urantia is more like an amazing overview of
Yes.
everything. But it
Yeah,
doesn't
I guess,
really give you, as a direct psychology, only gives you an example life of Jesus to kind of follow. And I'm actually listening to Jesus Papers right now.
yes.
And
I get what you're saying, Cole, but there could be actually quite a fundamental difference. And I'm not going to know until I've read the book and,
yes,
you know,
yes.
experienced it to know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I've always had the suspicion in the back of my mind that A Course in Miracles might be a little bit not quite right, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It might be just a truth, and whoever wants to follow that truth can go that way.
Well, it depends
No,
what
well,
I don't know.
you do with Course in Miracles, because if you into this realm of interpretation of Course in Miracles, you will end up in your personal hell, I think.
Yes.
But if you use
the thing,
Course in Miracles just to trigger the truth in you, because
Yes.
it's a truth book. It just say, hey, have a look at this. It's not so. And have a look at that. It's not so. And look at this. This is your personal hell, honey. And so it gives you all these little things that make you aware what you do, but also generates an experience in you. And if you take the path of experience with A Course in Miracles, you will be
Oh,
enriched. But if you
well,
take,
that's why I'm still with it, because I
yeah,
do have experiences.
but if you take it as a kind of form of religion where you interpret what it thinks it says, like many do, you know, famous Marianne Williamson, I think she's just full of shit when it comes to Course in Miracles.
But
yeah.
when you're reading it and trying to understand it, you can't help doing that to a certain extent, you know, but obviously you need to feel it as well.
Yeah, you have to have this, like
Yeah.
Course in Miracles says, you know, seek only the
Yeah.
experience and do not let the theological concepts to drag you down, basically.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing. When you have an experience of truth, you know it's true, and that actually doesn't change. That won't
No,
change. So there's a
stay
lot of people.
forever.
Oh, you're frozen. Anyway, I just want to keep an openness to it all, because
Beautiful. That's it.
previously I've gotten, oh, this is it, and I've just gotten one-eyed, one-minded about this thing as if it's the total thing, and it never was. You know, it never was.
They just you know, they just a help, you know.
Yeah,
At
yeah,
the end, it's all about you. And when you wake up, like Course of Love says so beautifully, it says, like, you will learn from connecting into union. Yeah.
yeah,
You drop
yeah.
into union, union will teach you things that no book can tell you, including Urantia.
Right, yes, because
You know,
there's
because it's
no
that
words.
exquisite personal revelation.
Mm.
You know, just like the one it says in here where he goes, it's too deep for words. Personal spiritual experience that's too deep for words.
Mm. Yes, yes.
You can't possibly name it, because if you can describe it, you are talking earth again. And Jesus says it very quickly, my kingdom is not of this world.
Yeah, well, this is where people got confused, didn't they? Yeah.
All right, shall we move on?
Yes, let's go get caught up there by
Yeah, we've done a whole paragraph.
Lucifer.
We are taught that the Son and the Spirit sustain the same and equal relations to the Father in the Trinity association. In eternity, and as the deities, they undoubtedly do, but in time and as personalities, they certainly disclose relationship of a very diverse nature. Here we go. Looking from paradise out under the universe, they can't see
And
it.
the
Universes, these relationships do seem to be very similar, but when viewed from the domains of space, they appear to be quite different. Yeah.
Oh,
Just like Course of
that's
Love says, like the love does not look at misery and then forgives it. Love basically can't see these dense realms in which a personal will took us into this personal hell. The divine sons are indeed the word of God. That's beautiful. The divine sons are indeed the word of God. That really shows that word word means something else than it appears.
Word is an expression.
Yes, expression of God. Beautiful.
That's how I see it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Like the God's voice speaks to me all through the day. It doesn't mean that he's like kind of a chatting with me. It's not a chat. Same as dialogue is not a chat. Dialogue is when we fall into this sense of unity together. The divine sons are indeed the word of God, but the children of the Spirit are truly the act of God. God speaks through the Son and with the Son, acts through the infinite Spirit, while in all universe activities, the Son and the Spirit are exquisitely fraternal, working as two equal brothers with administration and love.
Admiration.
Thank you. Admiration. Brothers with admiration. I admire you too. And love for an honored and divinely respected common Father. Basically, they're in unity, yeah? The Father, Son, and Spirit are certainly equal in nature, coordinating being, but there are unmistakable differences in their universe performances. And when acting alone, each person of deity is apparently limited in absoluteness. Jesus.
Limited.
Limited in absoluteness. I don't get that fully.
Well, okay, yeah.
The Universal Father, prior to his self-willed divestment of the personality, powers, and attributes which constitute the Son and the Spirit, seems to have been philosophically considered an unqualified, absolute, and infinite deity. But such a theoretical first source and center without a son could not, in any sense of the word, be considered universal father. Fatherhood is not really without sonship.
It's not real.
It's not real without.
Yeah, wow. That's beautiful. Fatherhood is not real without sonship.
Yeah, well, how can you be a father if you don't have a son? You're not one, are you?
Yes. Yeah. Well, we read it before too. That was one amazing thing in last session when it spoke that there was a whole paragraph. I love that. Can I read it?
Sure.
I think it was this one. Let me have a look. I'm just reading from the number 2 that we did last week. But the technique technique of trinitization, the Father divests himself of the unqualified spirit personality, which is the Son. But in so doing, he constitutes himself the Father of this very Son, and thereby possesses himself of unlimited capacity to become the divine Father of all subsequently created, eventuated, or other personal types of intelligent will creatures. I love that, because just by Son, he becomes a Father. Without Son, there is no Father. It's almost like a spirit cannot recognize itself without the will. Furthermore, the Father, to have been absolute in total sense, must have existed at some eternally distant moment alone, but he never had such a solitary existence. The Son and the Spirit are both co-eternal with the Father. The first source and center has always been. That's how first creation starts. I have always been. Remember? Mm-hmm. The first source and center has always been and will forever be the eternal Father of the original Son, and with the Son, the eternal progenitor of the infinite Spirit. Hey, doggy. Schnitzel. How good is that, guys? We observe that the Father has divested himself of all direct manifestation of absoluteness, except absolute fatherhood and absolute volition. We do not know whether volition is an inalienable attribute of the Father. We can only observe that he did not divest himself of volition. Such infinity of will must have been eternally inherent in the first source and center. How are we going, guys?
Going.
In bestowing absoluteness of personality upon the eternal Son, the universal Father escapes from the fetters
Yes.
of personality absolutism, but in so doing, he takes a step which makes it forever impossible for him to act alone as the personality absolute. And with the final personalization of coexistent deity, the conjoint actor, there ensures the critical Trinitarian interdependence of the three divine personalities, which regard the totality of deity function in absolute. Might as well been written in French. God is the Father absolute of all personalities in the universe of universes. The Father is personally absolute in liberty of action, but in the universes of time and space, made, in the making, and yet to be made, the Father is not discernibly absolute as total deity except in Paradise Trinity. Wow. The first source and center functions outside in Havana in phenomenal universes as follows. As creator, number one, as creator through the creator sons, his grandsons. As as controller through the gravity center of paradise. 3, as spirit through the eternal sun. 4, as mind through the conjoined creator. 5, as a father, he maintains parental contact with all creatures through his personality circuit. 6, as a person, he acts directly through creation by his exclusive fragments. In mortal man by the thought adjusters. As total deity, he functions only in the Paradise Trinity. All these relinquishments and delegations of jurisdiction by the Universal Father are wholly voluntary and self-imposed. The all-powerful Father purposely assumed these limitations of universal authority. Ugh, that's big. The eternal Son seemed to function as one with the Father in all spiritual respects, except in the bestowals of the God fragments and in other pre-personal activities. Neither is the Son closely identified with the intellectual activities of material creatures, nor with the energy activities of the material universe. As absolute, the Son functions as a person and only in the domain of the spiritual universe. In my last paragraph, the infinite spirit is amazingly universal and unbelievably versatile in all his operation. He performs in the spheres of mind, matter, and spirit. The conjoined actor represents the father-son association, but he also functions as himself. He's not directly concerned with physical gravity, with spiritual gravity, or with personal circuit, but he more or less participates in all other universe activities, while apparently dependent on 3 existential and absolute gravity controls. The infinite spirit appears to exercise 3 super controls. This threefold endowment is employed in many ways to transcend and seemingly to neutralize even the manifestation of primary forces as energies, right up to the super ultimate borders of absoluteness. In certain situations, these super controls absolutely transcend even the primal manifestation of cosmic reality. Oh. Happy?
Oh,
It's got to relax into it, you know? I don't think any effort can be very helpful.
Oh, focus on it would be good.
The what?
Focus would be good. I mean, like it can be made sense of when you actually focus on what he's saying. It can be made sense of, but I don't have that focus today, I suppose.
It's okay. Sometimes it hits me later. Like we have a reading, and then later on, this experience comes over me. I'm like, oh, so just because it doesn't really ignite a light in us straight away.
What struck me was that sentence, as absolute, the Son functions as a person and only in the domain of the spiritual universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think of the Bible because, you know, he had to speak in parables because it wasn't about the earthly life at all, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had to.
Mm. True.
And yeah, so it's all to do with the spiritual world, perhaps, you know. You can't possibly take it literally.
Yeah. Well,
Not really.
that's what makes it, you know, that's what makes it so crazy when
Yeah.
interpretations of what they think it's saying,
Yeah.
and they're trying to fit it into this world, while
Yeah.
Jesus constantly reminds us that, like, hey, this is not the real life.
Yes, this is only the effect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's the unreality of it, that it's an effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, it has a reality to us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Beautiful.
yeah.
I have a question about the Luciferian rebellion.
Mm.
You know anything about that, Cole? Was
Is
it
that
completely shut down?
Say it again, honey.
no?
Was it completely shut down, or is some of it still going?
Oh, I think it's still going, isn't it?
Well, it's being repaired, but I think we have joined Lucifer in some way. Like
And
we're
it said
very
in
much influenced by Lucifer still. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having such a mayhem going on around the world.
yeah, and it
Yeah,
said
that's
in
what I
that
was
talk.
wondering.
Yeah, it said in that talk that really struck me, and he's given free rein to do his thing until he peters out. There's nothing left, and it might take millions of years.
Yeah.
You know?
Bloody hell. Well, that's not fair on everyone who has to put up with the results of that, is it?
Yeah. But it's also to learn from it and then
Yeah.
decide. Like, for me, the best way to figure out the Luciferian aspects of mind is every time I decide not to feel, I am following Lucifer.
But also it is fair because it sort of says that if they try and stop it in some way, it won't actually be stopped. It has to play itself out to till there's nothing left. It has to,
Right.
you know. I don't know, for some reason that made sense to me. I couldn't explain why, but for me it was liberating because, well, yeah, we're given the same will. Like we can, however long it takes for us to play out whatever's going within us, we're allowed to. We're given that freedom. You know, why should it be any different for Lucifer or any other being?
Mm-hmm.
But we can speed up the process by doing our own work. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
By doing
Well,
our
yeah,
own
like it might
inner
take
work.
millions of years, but yeah, but I guess depending on what we do, it might take 5 years or only 5 more years, or who knows? But I guess we can influence by what we do, yeah. I mean, certainly you have to become aware of it, that it's happening. Otherwise, it'll just go on and on, won't it? If no one knows it's happening, that there's such a thing going on.
Yeah, I suppose the struggle for me is always bringing it back to myself. But I
Yeah.
find myself, I get very distressed about the things that are going on in the world. I get very distressed about it. I feel a bit like, when you describe about the angels, Cole,
Mm-hmm.
like I feel very distressed by the things that are going on, and I don't know how much I can actually do, and I feel very concerned for my girls.
Mm. Mm.
I mean, I don't have a particular attachment to being here, except that I
I hear
have
you.
these three daughters.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a similar thing too in some way because I feel so done. But but then it's my, sitting around with my son at the moment, we're playing this most amazing music together. And like, that keeps me bound to this, you know.
But what's the worst that can happen to them, Alison? What's the
Do
worst
you
that
not
can
see what's
happen?
going on in the world at the moment? I mean, I know I don't go looking for this stuff, but it comes up on my feed if I'm ever online.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the worst that can happen to your
Just go
daughter?
online, but then, oh,
In your mind, what's the worst thing that can happen to them?
what's the worst thing? They'll die of some
Yeah.
horrible disease that's caused by all the pollutants, and they're doing their best to
But
be healthy, but
but in
it's
dying,
becoming harder and harder to becoming harder and harder to even have a healthy life. Never mind everything else.
but oh yeah, I don't know.
I think
It's a hard way to look at it. Yeah.
if you really want to clear this up, because really those fears, like I have the same thing. Like sometimes my son goes fishing somewhere in bloody Grafton or whatever, and I'm going
Yeah.
like, gosh, what if he gets lost? And then I start making up all these stories that kind of,
Yeah.
and what I do now? I go straight into lesson 26 with that.
Yeah.
So if you want to gift
I
yourself,
probably I need to do that again. Yeah, I do need
yeah,
to do that again.
you just,
Like,
I'm concerned
I
about
do
my
feel
daughters. And then you have to have a look at all your fears, and you also have to realize that those are the attacks upon yourself, that you made those ideas based on limitation,
mm,
and they are attacking you.
yeah.
And when you see where you made it, when you see the real fears, they will begin to vanish.
I've got, yeah, those thoughts are constant. Like, I think, oh my God, my daughter's out here and what's going to happen, And I just try and say, oh, go away. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not interested. Because they're always coming at me. And it's
There's a
not,
deeper fear there, but you only
yeah.
allow yourself to do more conscious fears, but you don't look at the ones that are underneath that. So that particular lesson, I'm concerned about my daughters.
Oh, I see. Yes,
I'm
yes.
afraid, they're gonna whatever, whatever comes. You got to watch what
Will
comes
happen.
from
It's
you.
very specific. Yeah, it's
Okay?
specific.
Yeah, be specific and wait for it to come rather than dig for it. So you just go, I'm concerned about my daughters. I'm afraid, and then just wait. And then a sentence will come. Your condemnation will be right there. And then
Mm,
you spend little time with it. If you could say it
mm.
out loud, you're even better off. If you could say that fear a few times, you will begin to see that it's just a fear and it's not real reality as you think it is.
Mm.
But most of all, it will keep guiding you deeper and deeper until you run into your real fear. And it was interesting when my son went fishing and I had this nagging thought, and then I did this only once, and the whole thing disappeared. Like I did it only once. I'm concerned about my son. I'm afraid. he's going to get lost on a river somewhere. And that thought is an attack upon myself. And then I just start cracking up laughing. And then I never had that thought again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I have to go back
And I
to
got
that.
a message from his mother saying, like, Junior's having the best time on the river. You know?
It's nice. Yesterday I did, you know, that exercise that you suggested we do with someone else, but I did it on my own.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
that exercise.
Which one?
But I did it with sadness. It is like, okay, so what am I sad about? Because I was sad yesterday. What am I sad about? And I went through the whole list. And there was a few tears in there, but I just carried on with it. And I got to my grandfather dying, and I never had much attachment, but suddenly I was bawling and bawling.
Darling.
Anyway, I think I have a feeling I've got some residual stuff going on here. But
Beautiful.
the other interesting thing of it, there
Yeah.
were some that I know were real sadnesses, and I said them, and then suddenly I started laughing, and they were
Yes.
gone.
That's beautiful. That's it.
So yeah, I didn't have to do it with someone, although I think it might have been nicer, but at the time,
Have
I
to.
couldn't bring myself to do that anyway.
You don't have to do it with anyone else. It just helps.
But clearly, I've just got like this is why I'm sick, I think. I don't know. Like, just,
You know what?
yeah.
That was my first thought when you said this. I thought maybe you released something, and with that
Mm,
release came a physical release as well.
mm,
Because
Yeah, well,
Righteous Soul says it very often. He said when you begin to move your will, you might end up feeling sick.
mm,
And
well, I couldn't believe, like, yeah, I couldn't sleep last night. I'm so uncomfortable. I was swallowing because of my throat, swallowing all the time, then I'm burping. It's like I can't just relax and go to sleep. And then at some point during the night, I realized, oh, I must have had a fever because it's broken. I feel like a different, like I feel a bit better. So
mm.
beautiful.
still not feeling great, but maybe I'll do some more of that.
Yeah.
There's plenty of, one thing is for sure, we've got plenty of tools.
Well, try this one with your daughters because when you begin to see, A Course of Love actually says it. The real fear doesn't lie on top. It's actually a little bit in the unconscious level.
Mm,
It
Yeah.
makes, like we never upset for the reason we think. If you actually upset, that's not it. The minute you realize what the actual upset is, it will disappear.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good one. I will do that.
Beautiful.
because if we're really, really like not afraid of dying ourselves, how could we possibly project that onto anybody else? Like, how could we be afraid of anyone else dying if we're not really,
Well,
you
because
know,
you know what?
I'm afraid my fears come from like one of my daughters in particular really struggles with me.
with what?
Men, I think.
Oh, frozen.
We wait.
Yeah, forget it.
You just froze, Alison. Say it again.
My I think a big fear for me is one of my daughters really struggles with their mental health,
Oh.
and I know she's suffering, and I can't help her
Mhm.
with that. I don't
Yeah.
feel like I can't help her with that.
Yeah.
And she's just keeping her head above water most of the time emotionally. And
Yeah.
life is so hard. It's really hard to see. And
Yes.
yeah, anyway, I know what that's like. So
Yeah.
you have to come back to me, like, how am I?
Because it's at the end when you really find out what it is, it's got to do with you more than anything else.
Mm,
Like if they fully fail, how are you gonna be feeling? And
yeah.
that is the biggest fear. Like how am I gonna be if something happens to them? But you will if you keep tracing this, you will find you will actually crack up laughing because you'll go like, I don't want them to go bad because I'm gonna feel like shit,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
Ah,
Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so good, guys, to open all this up and air it, you know? Just like
Yeah.
that sadness, that's such a good example, Alison. Such a good example that you can actually do it with pretty much any feeling. Get like, give it all the possible expressions.
Yeah, I did quite a long list, and then felt quite a lot better afterwards. And here I am, just back in it. So I guess I have to do it again, or
No,
you
no, no.
know,
You might be just you might just be cleansing the residuals, like Cosimo calls
okay.
the blessed residue.
I did feel better afterwards. I did feel a lot better. Anyway, yeah. I
Love.
mean, every time I get sick, which is not very often anymore, I come up. I've spent years and years studying Joel Goldsmith and Course in Miracles, and trying to find out how to be a healer, like to actually have
Mhm.
results in physical healing.
Mm,
And I end up, having just such a judgment on myself for it even happening to me or around me. Anyway, that's another thing. I mean, it's just like I have to deal with all these things. I have to
Mm.
do something about it. So
yeah,
lesson 26.
Yeah, I have that judgment too about getting sick and stuff.
Yeah.
Ah,
beautiful,
But I
guys.
looked at the day in the 40 days and nights, the day on healing this morning, and
Wonder.
it did break through to a new thing. It's day 14, I think. Broke through to a new space where I suddenly felt physically a lot better when I had this sort of moment of seeing something. But here I am. It's the old patterns coming back in. I just see that, okay, old patterns.
Beautiful, guys. Wow, 1 hour and 15 minutes later.
Mm. I did one section.
it's so dense though. The material is so dense. It's
Mhm.
like
It
it's not
will,
surprising.
that will give us a bit of a respite, a bit of
Mm.
rest in between. Uh, this is the hardest I found personally.
How
This,
long does it go for? Being this sort of intense? How long?
well, it gets, I think there are some chapters well, this is all because it's so unknown. They're actually revealing to us something we didn't even dream about existed. Like, even like this is so far in a way remote from what general understanding on earth is. So
Um,
it is they're showering us with concepts that, but I was listening to one guy talking, and he's been at it for 50 years, and he goes there's just he said he couldn't understand it for years, and then one day it just all been adjusted, just like going kaboom.
oh, right. Okay.
And he says,
That's nice to hear.
he says, just stick with it. It will
Yeah.
one day be a breeze. Like, Alison, like when you hear Eternal Sun and it just moves something in you, right? It
Mm.
Yeah.
will begin to be more and more of that at some point. If you allow yourself those deep emotional responses to the material. Just like you cleared out of sadness, you first had to go through some perceptions of sadness until you really got in touch with the real sadness. The minute you in a real experience, there it comes this movement, and you begin to laugh, you become joyous, you might have goosebumpsy feeling and form of like a release.
Mm.
But I think this whole first book is pretty dense in a way.
Yes, part one.
It's just,
Part,
yeah,
part two then goes to the local universe, which will probably be
that's
easier
that's
to.
still pretty huge.
Yeah. Okay.
That's still pretty huge.
Well, I guess it's giving us the foundation, isn't it? And then we can go on to lighter things or something
I think
more.
when we read it next time again from the beginning, we'll go, oh yeah.
we'll probably have to go through this book, for the rest of our life.
Well, some people don't do anything else. They do only this book.
Yeah.
We are all influenced by Course of Miracles, Course of Love, and even Right Use of Will for I've been doing Right Use of Will over 30 years now.
Yeah.
And, it is definitely received material to help us with this feeling realm that is so really unknown. Shall we squeeze in another one, or you guys are cooked for today?
Well, it's a very short one.
All right,
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. 4. The Trinity Union of Deity. Of all absolute associations, the Paradise Trinity, the first triunity, is unique as an exclusive association of personal deity. God functions as God only in relation to God and to those who can know God, but as absolute deity only in the Paradise Trinity and in relation to universe totality. Whatever.
See the joy it brings to you?
I couldn't understand anything, but eternal deity is perfectly unified. Oh, sorry, a bird just crashed into my window.
No.
Oh, it went thump. Oh. Eternal deity is perfectly unified. Nevertheless, there are 3 perfectly individualized persons of deity. The Paradise Trinity makes possible the simultaneous expression of all the diversity of the character traits and infinite powers of the first source and center, and his eternal coordinates, and of all the divine unity of the universe functions of undivided deity.
Beautiful. Oh.
The Trinity is an association of infinite persons functioning in a non-personal capacity, but not in contravention of personality. The illustration is crude, but a father, son, and grandson could form a corporate entity which would be non-personal, but nonetheless subject to their personal wills.
What's the grandson would be? Gosh, that was mentioned there before. What?
There's and then there's his sons. Is that who the Paradise sons are?
Could you, sweetheart, say that again because you cut out for a second?
There's God the Father,
Uh-huh.
God the Son,
Yeah.
and then the sons who the Son created.
The son, yeah, grandson.
I think it's the Son. I think the Son created Paradise sons, but I also think that my internet's terrible. Forget
Yeah,
it.
it's a bit off today. Sometimes it's
We've
good,
got re
but you did sign
we've
out.
got really heavy
Mm.
got really heavy cloud layer today. That's just yeah.
Sometimes if you turn your video off, Alison, it becomes clear.
Mm.
Yeah, it might be able to cope with this. Yeah. Anyway,
Sorry,
I
my
think
thing just dropped out. Yeah.
Today we have some interferences going on.
Yes,
Must be
interesting,
the,
isn't it?
must be the Luciferian rebellion.
Yeah.
The Lucifer is going, nah, these guys need to be stopped. They're going a bit too far today.
Oh, I'm sure it's something like that. Yeah. So, I forgot what I was saying anyway. The last sentence, the illustration is crude, but a father, son, and grandson could form a corporate entity, which would be non-personal, but nonetheless subject to their personal wills. I just think of a company on earth, a corporation where, the father starts it, the son takes it over, and yeah, their personal wills run it. Interesting. Mm.
I'm just gonna hop off for a second. I've got a mower guy here, and I need to move my car, otherwise my driveway is gonna be not done.
Okay.
Back in a minute.
I mean, it makes sense to me that there's parallels with how we structure things here, because how could it be otherwise? If we're the effect, and the structures in the spiritual world, yeah, they're so like it how it goes here in a way, isn't it? It's yeah, it's interesting, I find. Ah.
Oh, Kim, can you hear me?
Yeah,
How are you?
yeah, okay. How are you?
I am
Got home.
perfect.
Oh,
I am
yes, that's
perfect.
good.
You forgot. You forgot again.
I did. Always forgetting.
Mm.
Ah, no, my mind was on this
Mm.
thing. I think by the grandson, they just mean the Father, Son, and Spirit. It's like the grandson. Yeah,
Mm.
perhaps. Uh,
Mm. Yeah, I'm not trying to understand. Not even going to even endeavour to understand it.
oh, okay.
I
Probably
figure
a
my
good
brain
idea.
doesn't work as good as when I was younger anyway, and it's like I'm not going to start trying to understand this stuff now.
Oh.
I'll just wait till the other three of you get it and you can explain it.
Oh,
Too bad if we're wrong, eh, Kevin?
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think it makes any difference. No. Hmm.
It is sort of like if you go through it a sentence at a time and try and understand, like just understand each sentence as you go, it becomes a lot clearer. But I don't always have patience for that.
Hmm.
Well, I know I'm on my third reading of the text of A Course in Miracles, and it's making much more sense. It made no sense the first time. And I feel, yeah, I'm getting more of a, not all of it, but some of it at least. So, yeah, I think it's just going to take multiple readings. Like, because, this second time of reading A Course of Love is so different from the first time for
Yes,
me,
Yeah, yeah,
So
true.
this is
yeah. And I
fine.
understood so much more in the section on the Eternal Sun too when I read it. It
Mm,
just sort of, oh, it made sense. I didn't have to struggle with it at all.
Hmm.
yeah.
Well, sections of it.
All right.
Yeah, I think they're meaning by the grandson. It's just another way of describing the Holy Spirit. That third part, perhaps. I don't know. Anyway,
Would be the extension of the same.
yeah. The Paradise Trinity is real. It exists as the deity union of Father, Son, and Spirit. Yet the Father, the Son, or the Spirit, or any two of them, can function in relation to this self-same Paradise Trinity. The Father, Son, and Spirit can collaborate in a non-Trinity manner, but not as three deities. As persons, they can collaborate as they choose, but that is not the Trinity.
Mm.
Oh, right, so they can work separately. Ever remember that what the infinite Spirit does is the function of the conjoint actor. Both the Father and the Son are functioning in and through and as Him. But it would be futile to attempt to elucidate the Trinity mystery.
I love it.
Futile. Three as one and in one, and one as two and acting for two. Three as one. Yes, it's a bit
For me, it
ambiguous.
always comes like that: spirit, will, and a heart. That's a perfect
Right.
trinity. They all depend on each other. Like the spirit brings the light, the will brings the manifestation, and birth is the child of that unity. So they all the same. They all come from the same source. That's how, for me, and it's within us as well.
And they can act separately or just the two or
Yeah,
whatever, but
you can be in your
in
mind
doing
all day,
so, they're not the whole. Yeah,
but you
yeah,
can be in your mind all day, but you're not in your wholeness.
yes,
If your mind is
yeah,
not connecting, or your feelings are not connecting to what the mind is thinking. In the
yes.
course of love, they're bringing more the heart to unite the Trinity. Yeah.
And I guess that's like the true meaning of paradise.
Yes. If we are the same, if
Paradise
we are made in that
Trinity.
image, then we have to
Yeah,
have the same capacity
yes.
in some kind of like a smaller size in a way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I keep reading. There's two more paras.
Let's do it. We'll finish there, huh?
Yeah. The Trinity is so related to total universe affairs that it must be reckoned with in our attempts to explain the totality of any isolated cosmic event or personality relationship. The Trinity functions on all levels of the cosmos, and mortal man is limited to the finite level. Therefore must man be content with a finite concept of the Trinity as the Trinity.
Beautiful.
As a mortal in the flesh, you should view the Trinity in accordance with your individual enlightenment.
Bingo.
And in harmony with the reactions of your mind and soul. Oh, it's beautiful.
For true responses, yeah.
Yeah. You can know very little of the absoluteness of the Trinity, but as you ascend paradiseward, you will many times experience astonishment at successive revelations and unexpected discoveries of Trinity supremacy and ultimacy, if not of absoluteness.
Beautiful.
Astonishment.
Love it. Awesome, guys. Well, Alison, I wish you quick recovery. Hope it passes through you very fast.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
do I.
Allow it to ooze it.
Yeah. It's good to look on sickness as some form of release, isn't it? Actually, it's a bit more.
Yeah, either release or some kind of signal that something is stagnant. Even in Chinese, they often do it like they remove they ignite the stagnation, and the movement begins to flow again. The electricity begins to work. The electromagnetic field within you is more in harmony and alignment than just stuck in some unmoving rigidity.
Yes, God.
It can be fatal.
Well, that's death, isn't it? When the energy stops. You're
it's
gone.
Called rigor mortis.
Rigor mortis.
Yeah.
Slow down yourself so much you can't recover yourself.
Yes, it's the next level of denseness. Like,
anyway, if you guys want me to send you the link, I've contacted the office of the University Institute of Urantia, and they made a mistake, and they didn't include 4 years of this video. So now they should change it so you can view 4 years of these weekly meetings. That not all of them are on the video. They're not all of them recorded, but there's a lot, and you can also pick subjects that might inspire you and hear people talking about it, which is quite lovely to hear people who've been involved with this as their main spiritual input.
That's the thing I really appreciate about being made redundant. I've got time to listen to these things.
Yes, same here.
It does take so much time, to read and listen and, Yes.
Good. Beautiful, darlings.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah,
it's our Thursday, and we'll be seeing you very soon, like Saturday.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a tango festival, which I'm going to be attending, so hopefully I can manage the early groups.
A tango festival? That sounds
there's
like
a tango thing going on, like 3-day tango with live music and some dancers from around the world that come here and demonstrate some top level of expression.
Because the tango, it can vary so much. And everyone's different in the way they do it, isn't it?
Totally, it's incredible. The form is always the same.
Everything.
It's actually all very simple. Like there's just a few steps, but then there comes all these little ornamentations, where they throw in the legs around and Yeah, it's a fascinating little thing to do.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and it increases the polarity. This is quite amazing to go dancing. And then when I'm driving home, I feel my oxytocin level is very high because the man leads and the woman has to follow. Even if the man doesn't lead properly, she still has to follow. And there's something happens in that. It creates polarity. It's quite fascinating.
It's great. There's always something going on in the world to show us,
Yeah. No,
demonstrate all of this. Yeah, it's so
tango
good.
is incredible in that way because you really have to do what you never want to do is to surrender to the lead of the man.
It's true. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can understand that by, what happened in right use of will. I can understand why I wouldn't want to do that because it's so dangerous. It's so dangerous.
Mm-hmm. My confirmation about the tango just arrived, the same as we speak about it. Because they have to have equal men and equal amount of men and women because it's quite a juggle.
Have you ever
Oh,
seen
then
that
come
movie
in
called Life
partners.
Tango in Paris? Oh, sorry. What,
Yes.
Alison?
That's all right.
Yeah.
I thought they'd come in with their partners.
Yeah, some do. Some come with partners, but there are many who aren't with partners, and but they have to keep that balance a little bit better. You know, otherwise there is
Oh,
people sitting around waiting for someone to be free.
right.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be easy, would it? Just joining with a stranger. Yeah. Mm.
Sometimes it can be. Sometimes you just get a partner that for some reason you just click and they're easy
Mm.
to dance with.
Oh, it's incredible to because we change partners after 3 minutes of dancing.
Oh,
Or
okay.
no, after 3 short songs, so maybe 5 minutes. So you dance with one person and then suddenly, boom, you
How many
so
dance? How
different.
many
It's just,
dances?
hang on.
How many dances will you do?
Give me a second. What's happening here? What do you want? I thought the dog was
Can't,
going or something. You okay? Yeah. Sit. Take him out for a little piece or something.
so how many dances will you get to do over the time?
There's usually about 10 or 11 people, so 11 couples in a way. So you get to dance with about an average 10 people.
Wow.
And it's so incredibly different. Like every woman inspires you to dance differently,
Mm.
but she still has to follow whatever your lead is. And it's the art of men knowing where they're going that makes a woman easy to follow. Once a man is clear, she follows. When a man is confused, she's confused.
Mm.
She's following the confusion. It's quite fascinating. I find it a great addition to, exploring the
Mm.
polarity. Because when you do it correctly, she relaxes in a way that almost generates light. She's in this kind of relief state, like, oh gosh, I'm taken. Anyway, fascinating stuff. All right, sweethearts.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure the viewers will enjoy all our
Cravings.
yeah.
And,
All
anyway,
right. Thanks,
it's so
everyone.
sweet. It's very sweet to know that. What just you do? Huh? What's going on? You wanna go on the top of there again? Anyway, I better take care of this little doggy here.
Okay.
You guys have a gorgeous day, and we'll be seeing you
Yeah.
really, really soon.
Okay.
Take care, Alison. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well,
See you all.
thanks.
See you later.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.
Ciao.